Once upon a time, authority frowned on this engine of danger. This snorting, puffing, noisy machine, not more than 4 miles an hour, said the law. Sometimes less, said the cop. Down with the red flag of tyranny, said the pioneer motorist.
Hey, you're going too fast. Left your lunatic behind you. Looky.
In the year 1896 came freedom to travel not more than 20 miles per hour, perhaps.
Hey, sir, take that clattering contrivance off the road. I'll have ye jail, I will. Hold up there. Come along now. Hold up.
The course of the early motorist was adventurous but poorly charted. A blacksmith shed, a haven of refuge, where already were signs of new industries springing to life. Motorists wanted oil and motor spirit, but above all, they wanted water to cool their fevered steeds. You'll find that's just about what he wants. He have a lot of water. All right, sir. Go down there, sir. That's all right, sir.
Thank you.
4 shillings, sir. 4 shillings. That's just it, sir. I ain't charged you for the water.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
He'd better stuck to us. They go further, they last longer. Out.
Why, what's the matter with his ear? I ain't never seen anything like this before, you fool. Well, you don't go neither. Why, Mother, come out here. Something wrong. Oh. What's the matter, Master? Can I do anything for you? I'll get the old ass.
Thank you, thank you.
George, come here. Come here quick now. Just get me that old mare at the stable. Now, don't be long about it neither. These gentlemen's waiting. That's all right, sir.
Thank you.
He ain't so lonesome as my old mare. No.
Old Joe put it in sure
Good thing it is.
I know he's gotten all right, I guess.
Just sitting down there, George.
Off we go.
1 horsepower wind. Then came an event. A young man named Austin designed and built a British car in 1898. But prejudice still sat in high places. As ever, youth was to blaze the trail.
In my opinion, the country's going to the dogs. Why, there's old Sir Richard actually given up his hack to do his rounds of one of these,
motor cars?
Motor cars, yes, motor cars.
That's going rather too far.
Perhaps further than the motor car will go.
Willie Birch's motor did 40 miles last Tuesday without a hitch.
I rode past one the other day that seemed to have no owner, except for a pair of legs sticking up from underneath.
Why, our horse is in South Africa.
Now, Victoria passed one the day before yesterday.
You told me it passed the Victoria.
Well, it did. It made the coachman so nervous that he pulled into the side of the road to allow it to do so.
Atrocious.
Probably only a craze. May soon die out.
Well, King Edward's bought one now.
Atrocious.
Henry.
They'll never get away from a good piece of horseflesh.
Coffee is served in the drawing room, Sir John.
I will let you think afterwards. This is so kind of you. Joy, my kind as I come. I'll go another.
Hey, where's that very modern young man of yours today?
He's coming later.
Oh. damn good force of yours, Squire.
And it should be. Good year, 64.
You won't be able to stand this at my age if you don't ride more.
You know, I think you're all wrong about motor cars.
What?
What do you mean, my son?
You know, you youngsters.
Oh, give him his head, Colonel. Loose reins for coats, you know.
Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings.
Well, if I may say so, sir, you've prophesied for the last 5 years that they'd soon be extinct. Yet, actually, they're putting up factories to make more of them. Why, soon every up-to-date person will own a motor car.
Why, I suppose you think we'll soon be flying.
Some people say we'll do even that, Colonel.
Oh, nonsense.
Well, I can't quite believe that.
Man was made for the earth, and the earth for man.
Noise.
Noise? What noise?
It's a motor. I'll bet it's Reggie.
What, your sister's fiancé?
It is Reggie. He has bought one.
Why, the fellow has the horse of his own yet, has he?
Well, I think we ought to go and see what he has got anyway.
Oh, certainly. I'm not prejudiced. Come along, Vicar.
Hello, Reggie, old man. How are you?
Hello, John, old boy.
Reggie!
A Wolsey, old boy. Yeah. What's the break? Hello, sir.
Hello, young fella. What have you been up to?
You like it?
Oh.
What are all those things in front of you?
Well, the spirit goes in there.
What's
Yeah,
that?
water. Oh, it's water.
What's been, Maisie?
What about you, Colonel?
Oh, come on. Colonel. Now.
King does it,
Yes.
sir.
Well, that's you, Vicar. Oh, come on. Now. Oh, boy,
Yeah.
come on, jump in, sir. Go on, Vicar.
Can I get
Well,
jumped?
come on, Colonel.
Take care of yourself, Dad.
All right.
Go careful to the bridge.
Now we're off.
Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Yeah, coming. Slow and not too sure in the days of the early motor car. What were the roads like? Bumpy in places. However halting and slow the early cars, the foundation of the British motor car industry itself was well and truly laid. Nearly 30 years ago, Herbert Austin made the first car to bear his own name. Possibilities of motoring began to reach a wider public. Even those who had first scoffed at the motor car came to use it in their everyday life. The Victoria passed away, regretted only by coachmen too prejudiced to learn to drive a car. Ten years ago came that epoch-making event which brought motoring to the million and made the possession of a motor car the perquisite of the man in the street. The first baby Austin. Today, those who laid the foundation stones of this enormous industry can look back with satisfaction to successful accomplishment and forward to a future of which even this progress will be but a milestone. Every day, 11,000 men and women commence their work beneath these roofs. Embedded in 50 acres of concrete are 5,000 350 units of machinery, controlled and guided by the skillful hands and practiced eyes of British operatives. Under these roofs, 3/4 of a mile in extent, are housed all the basic industries employed in the making of a motor car, from foundries to the finished product. Under these roofs beats the heart of a mighty organization of men, metal, and machinery, every unit welded to the common purpose of producing an article faithful to its own high standard of service. The Austin Motor Car Company's factory at Longbridge, Birmingham, was opened in 1905, and during 1907, 147 cars were built. Today, the same number of cars is completed in under 6 hours. And yet, as performance proves, there is more care and skillful workmanship in this efficient mass production than went to the making of the old-time motor car. The throb of power, smoothly coordinated, bears witness that the brain of man is master, not slave, of the machine he has evolved. Those who think must govern those who toil. Every successful motor car is fundamentally the product of one man's brain. Everything worthwhile has been born of some dreamer's dream, a vision, but translated into swift, decisive action. The thought that guided the designer's skillful pencil must find practical expression. Production is planned, tools are made by a machine interpreting the draftsman's pencil. The first point guiding the diamond steel cutter at its work. This progress goes on uninterruptedly. A cathedral of industry, dedicated to smoke and steel. The daily task of whose acolyte is the shaping of sand into cores, molds of a motor car in the making. Core of the back axle, equivalent to the air space in the finished casting. A ton of molten steel, the product of 2 hours ordeal by fire at 1500 degrees centigrade. The metal flows a livid stream at the control of an electric switch. The dry molds, thirsty for the molten liquid, are filled in orderly procession. Newborn axle casing emerges from the mold, beginning its career thus easily, but soon to receive a severe shaking. Immolation awaits this pig iron, destined to be casting. In molten form, it is conveyed to moving molds of every cast iron part in a modern motor car. Nothing is lost in casting metal except smoke. Even the sand is used again. Every day, over 300 roll along, receiving en route a brush up, removing the rough edges in preparation for machining. The blacksmith art in modern setting, the drop stamped forge. One, two, three. 50 pounds of steel sliced from the bar. Steel ready for the hammer. Two hammers, 4 men, 1 minute, 1 crown wheel. For bending, an Austin 7 crankshaft. To the mighty beating of 36 hammers, whose reverberations are heard on a still night 2 miles from Longbridge. 180 steel forgings are completed every week. By way of contrast, upsetting of a bell, an electric mechanical forging operation, producing 6 bells a minute. The keen, unfashioned beauty of a great machine pressing steel. "500 tons presses its irresistible weight on a sheet of steel, producing the rear quarter panel of an Austin 7. An epic of metal. Iron and steel, rough from foundry and forge, meet cutters of steel, keen, precise, inevitable. Putting a good face on it. The milled cylinder block prepared for drilling. "98 holes being drilled at once. Operation follows operation in orderly progression. A perfect bore in the making. The first rough cut. Smooth as a mirror, the bore is honed, fit to receive the diamond-turned piston. Simultaneously, the crankshaft approaches a like perfection. Lapping the bearing surfaces of the crankshaft precedes a scientific test for that perfect balance indispensable to the prime mover of the engine. In every part of the work, the production pulse beats unvaryingly, man and machine in concert, maintaining the output of 25 cars each working hour of the day. In pace with the machining of the engine goes the making of the axle. The monarch of the rear axle assembly, the crown wheel. In 3 minutes, its 44 spiral teeth are rough cut, eventually to mate with the spiral bevel pinion. Moving faster than the eye or camera can follow, these cutters shape the differential pinion on the axle shaft. The tube and flange, forming half the 7 back axle casing, are electrically welded into one tough entity in a shorter time than these words take to speak. A variation of 1/10,000th of an inch cannot escape the scrutiny of the inspector. The results of this gauging in 9 sizes are conveyed by telewriter to the piston inspector. Graded pistons are selected to fit each engine ready for its arrival on the assembling line. And so continues this progress. See how they run. Note how they pull. An exhaustive test of each engine for power, output, and speed. The hum of 40 engines under test. Strong, silent axles. Crown wheel and bevel pinion run in together, carrying their wedding lines upon them. Fate and the axle assemblers then decree that they must work together forever. The gauge determines mesh to within 1,000th part of an inch. Axles are tested by sound. The tester listens. The most exacting music critic listens no more intently, nor detects with greater certainty a fault in their movement. Throughout this mighty organization, all work, every operation, however small or large, must proceed to a common beat. This is the culmination of a vast system of production. From all points, in orderly sequence, parts converge on the assembling line. One car every 3 minutes is the output. One car every 3 minutes of the working day. The 7 assembling lines, on which, at the end of 1931, over 150,000 Austin 7s had been assembled. To keep pace with the output of chassis production, a uniform rate of bodybuilding is maintained, a continuous progression from skeleton framework to polished perfection. A delicate touch by a careful hand. In endless procession, to their appointed task. A feminine touch gives a final polish. Goodbye, Austin car. Good running to you along some foreign road. A day's consignment for overseas. A day's delivery to the home Austin dealers. Buying a car is always an enjoyable experience. The new model stands in all its glory in the showroom. We want to see inside it, under it, around it. We want to sit in it, drive it, feel that it is ours, for a few moments at least, and savor all its potentialities before we make the final choice. We listen to interesting technical details of the engine, its design, the accessibility of its components, its easy maintenance, its low consumption of oil and petrol. We discover the latest devices for our personal comfort and ease of driving. The advantages of twin-top gears. We visualize performance. We learn how good a British-made car can be. We learn that everywhere we can buy from reliable dealers, depend upon real service during our ownership of an Austin car. It is delightful to go car buying. Good brakes are essential. Let us take you for a ride. The spirit of salesmanship wants to put you on the spot, or rather, show you the high spots of motoring enjoyment. Petrol? A couple of gallons. Petrol consumption is very moderate. Oil? a gallon at the most for 1,000 miles. And now, away. Sit back, ladies and gentlemen, at your ease, while your smoothly gliding chassis, effortlessly propelled by a dependable engine, carries you powerfully along. Through leafy lanes where shadow chases sunshine. Where the commerce of agriculture, even yet, awaits change to new methods of transport. Now more swiftly fly the hedges. The open road to the old town basking in the sunshine. Shall we take a peep at the old cathedral? Next time, perhaps. To the Mecca of many motorists, the sea. Roll along sedately on the Undercliff Drive. Savor the salt tang of sea air. Listen to the lapping water at the pier ahead. Pause a moment to watch children building castles in sand. Up, hill, and down. With an effortless ease, feeling that sense of power and command which is expressed in the phrase, the freedom of the road. Speed along the main road, where the beauty of the countryside passes by in swift panorama. Through sleepy villages. Awake enough to the motorist's requirements. Petrol station, cheek by jowl with an ancient smithy. And in the evening, when the mingled sense of countryside seem a little less marked, as though tired at the end of the day, yet quietly fragrant, we say, let us go home. For enjoyment is all the more keenly felt when we know that it ends with going home. In such luxurious comfort, which is yours to command, spare a thought, kind ladies and gentlemen, to the toil that makes it possible for you. To the smoke and steel and sweat of the factory, to the mind and muscle which produces. And when at night you garage your car, give a kindly thought to her exertion. She is a machine born of labor, but coming to you endowed with the spirit of service that will be rendered in full measure. The Austin Motor Car Company pledges itself anew to make motor cars as dependable as an Austin, and in doing so renders its contribution to the prestige of the British motor industry throughout the world.